Welcome guys to another camera comparison featuring the brand new Nothing Phone 2 alongside the iPhone 14 Pro and the Galaxy S23 Ultra. As you know, we're always trying to find new ways to improve our videos, so we thought, why not take the viewers along the ride while we go around Berlin taking some footage. So right now we are at Potsdamer Platz, which is an area in the center of Berlin, and it's known for its nice buildings, restaurants, and I would say attractions. I'm in front of the Bahnhof Potsdamer Platz right now, which translates to the train station, and our first photo will be here, so let's get right into it. My first impression of the Nothing Phone 2 is positive. Its photo doesn't have any obvious quirks that stick out when compared to the goats of the mobile phone scene. The color profile looks a bit similar to the iPhone, but of course, we'll have to do more analysis later on in the video to have a more accurate opinion. If we crop into my face, we can see how the photo on the left looks to be a bit more accurate regarding skin tone and the details on my face. In the next image, we have some nice colors as well as a test of dynamic range. Do you see how the details are kind of lost in the shadows in the photo in the middle? This used to be a serial problem on the S23 Ultra, but thank you Samsung for the big software updates. How the clouds in the sky look will be based on your preference, and even there, I'd say that the iPhone and Galaxy is more realistic, but in terms of protecting the clarity, they're also slightly ahead as well. Moving indoors, I kind of look uncomfortable. Fun fact, or not so fun fact, I'm not a fan of narrow spaces, but you know I'll do anything for the views, likes and subscribes, so how about it guys, show some love. It does look like the Phone 2 might need a little bit more fine-tuning, as the photo is a bit darker than what I want to see. Granted, I think that the iPhone might have brightened up the scene a bit too much, as the Galaxy looks to have captured the perfect balance, keeping the visuals natural compared to the other two. The second indoors photo has a bit more light in it, which shows us that as long as there's an adequate amount of clarity, phones at this level will perform. I was just mostly curious about how the Phone 2 would hold up against the three major flagships, and it's done pretty well so far. As for night photos, we have some shots in a really dark environment for you. This one kind of gives off an old-fashioned photo vibe, especially the one in the middle looking like an edited photo taken with a DSLR. Some like it and some don't, but I would rank the iPhone and the Phone 2 slightly above the Galaxy here, so make sure to tell us your opinions in the comments. The next one is a super interesting one, as all the photos look completely different, which isn't something that we come across often. It's a hard choice between the Galaxy and the iPhone, as I like the details on the left a bit more, but the overall white balance and skin tone is making me lean towards the Galaxy, as it looks like a photo that will be preferred more by other people as well. And that was it for the wide camera. While we do enjoy taking photos with that camera more, the ultra-wide camera is definitely beneficial to have in a place like the Sony Center, where you can get a lot into the frame, and this is specifically what the ultra-wide camera is used for. I do see some construction around us, but it won't be much of a problem, as we'll get some fine angles for you and take some nice ultra-wide photos. I presume that ultra-wide was going to be pretty hard for the Phone 2 simply because the other two giants have had almost a year to adjust their software. To be honest, I was pleasantly surprised. Only issue was the green tone of the photo, which probably was due to the color of the windows, and it's important to see that the HDR software has worked better than either of the other two. Brands like Apple are known for their consistency though, as the photo is in the exact same spot, but you don't see the color of the window affecting the photo in any way. Regardless, even though the S23 Ultra usually prevails against the 14 Pro and Ultra Wide because of the lack of HDR on iPhones, I have to say that I look better on the photo on the left, balancing them out in terms of points. When there is no subject in the frame, then the HDR is much easier to manage for the phones, and as I said, we'll definitely be back here when construction is done for even better shots. We then moved indoors, where I continued to be impressed by the performance of the Phone 2. Usually, there is no chance that the ultra-wide camera is this good if the phone you're using is in an established brand, and even then, major Chinese flagships still have problems from time to time. Here though, very well done across all phones. Still, I like it when everything is detailed, unlike the ceiling being blown out on the iPhone. I excuse it once because I looked much better in the photo compared to the other photos, but here it will fall slightly behind. As for our really low light shots, the iPhone kind of flopped on the first photo. Not a huge difference, but there's a lot of noise in the photo, which also affects how I look, further proving that the ultra-wide camera of the newest iPhone isn't the best at nighttime conditions. The bigger surprise is the second photo, and if we were to crop into me, we'd be able to see the huge amount of noise on the iPhone and the Galaxy, whereas the Phone 2 actually managed the scene really well. It's a really pleasant surprise to see the Phone 2 outperforming in at least one category, so more power to them, and we hope this performance will keep on going. This is the point where we leave our photographer skills behind and we focus on the software of the phones. You know what I'm talking about. It's time for portrait mode. We're in the area right now where, again, our photographer says that there is a really nice hotel and we're planning to take some photos in the lobby, hopefully if we don't get kicked out, but that's another story, so let's move on to the portrait category. Well, it seems like this is the point that the hype train will start to slow down. As a newcomer in the scene, the Phone 2 did aim pretty high, but Carl Pei made it clear that it's not here to immediately take down giants like Samsung and Apple. Yet. Edge detection is fairly mediocre, and even though we played around with the blur, it still came out too strong. Being closer to the camera did yield better results, but the standings won't change as the other two are too good to be overtaken with this level of software. Parts around the head weren't perfectly cut out, and this definitely impacted the standings. Interestingly enough, the S23 Ultra is keeping up the good performance when we move indoors and is not affected by situations with lesser light. While the iPhone was the king of portrait when it first came out, the S23 Ultra has caught up and even surpassed it with software updates as well as optimization to the 3x optical zoom. Frankly though, these differences are minimal. As it's seen in the other indoor image, all of them perform pretty optimally. The only difference is consistency, in which you're more likely to get an optimal photo from the Galaxy or the iPhone on your first or maybe the second try. In low light though, I'm really feeling the S23 Ultra. The photo just looks good. The colors are pretty spot on, the white balance isn't too warm, and I like my skin tone. Once again, the Phone 2 overdid my skin color, so it will take the spot behind the iPhone. On the other image though, it was kind of a coin flip between the two giants. I do like how my hair and face looks on the Galaxy, though the blur and skin tone was better than the iPhone this time around. It's funny because if my skin wasn't generally so yellowy in low light conditions on the Phone 2, it would have gotten a much better rating, which is a positive for them because it means they just have a couple of things to tweak. So we had a little bit of a change of plans. We were going to go to some different places, but we ended up coming straight back to the office. We are right now in Zoologische Garten and we want to take some videos. So over there is Bikini Berlin. I don't know why people are running around me, but we're gonna go to that shopping mall first, take a couple of videos, indoors, outdoors, and then we'll see how it works. Just like the Phone 1, the Phone 2 has really good video quality. It was much more surprising the first time around though, because the first model was a brand new mid-range phone. They've capitalized on that, and specifically speaking for this video, the Phone 2 just looks better than both the iPhone and the Galaxy flagships, as the background looks much better than the S23 Ultra, and there are more details and darker areas compared to the iPhone. The second video, which is an ultra-wide one, in which I like the S23 Ultra's video even more than the iPhone. My face and skin tone look more detailed and accurate, while the Phone 2's video is lacking some of that detail around my facial features. Not really used to picking Samsung over Apple in the video section, but I guess there's a first for everything as the indoor videos are coming up. The iPhone 14 Pro has a slight advantage with white balance and managing the colors, and even though the table looks to be a bit saturated, the other two reflect this color on my face a bit too much, though it should be said that the quality is very close, unlike how it was in the past where the iPhone absolutely demolished other phones in terms of video quality. Shooting ultra-wide footage indoors, no idea what's up, but it's crazy how the Phone 2's video quality would be better than both of the others here if it wasn't a bit too dark. Overall, I don't think any of them are perfect, but they're all good and usable, at least for ultra-wide standards. All I have to say though is that the iPhone 15 needs to come out quick because it's starting to fall behind in videos. As for low light, here's a video of me participating in a tech podcast along with MKBHD and Mr. Who's the Boss. You just can't see them because they're on the other side of the table. Apple is once again the best, and the phone 2 almost beat out the S23 Ultra here as well, but the flickering at the top as well as the bottom is unfortunately bringing down its score just a little. Ultrawide is, as usual, a problem across the board. I'm more visible and less noisy on the left, but the background just looks better as the S23 Ultra does a better job at controlling the lights. It could go either way, to be honest, with the phone 2 impressing me once again, but it will just barely miss out. Rounding out the list will be 8K, as neither the iPhone 14 Pro or the Nothing Phone 2 have included this feature. The Galaxy S23 on the other hand, me likey. Good stabilization, much better quality than the S22 Ultra, and not as cropped in, makes this one of the best phones to shoot 8K videos with. In my opinion, of course. And we are back at the roof of our office. I love this area because you get a huge view of the whole city around you. It allows you to get some pretty good zoom shots in because you can see any target of the city that you want. And today's target is gonna be that clock all the way over there on the church. Do you see it? Yeah, I know you see it, and excuse me, Mr. Photographer. So, I think we're gonna get a pretty good result with the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra, but I really wanna find out which one is gonna be the second best phone. Is it gonna be the Nothing Phone 2 or the iPhone 14 Pro? Let's find out. Before we do this though, we just wanna show you a couple of optical zoom shots we took a little while ago, as this is a new addition to our comparisons. Check out the people sitting on the couch and realize how well they complement the scene. They were actually pretty far away from me, which would have been much more obvious on a photo taken with the main lens. The phone 2 doesn't have an optical zoom, but still did a decent job, as the other two are really crisp. Same thing goes for the other image, as I really like how the different color books in the background come closer and also bring everything together, giving us a nice photo with the 3x optical zooms of the iPhone on the Galaxy. In the general zoom comparison, it's not much of a surprise that the S23 Ultra outperforms the others here. As I said before, the phone 2 doesn't have an optical zoom, which is not that surprising as it's not a flagship phone, so even the iPhone has a better chance of outperforming it in this category. Anything above 10 times is easily going to go to the Galaxy due to their famous periscope lens, and the iPhone is going to be coming in second place, something we don't see too often when we have Chinese phones competing alongside these two giants, which will bring us to stabilization. Even light movement is an issue for the Nothing Phone 2, as we see some vibrations in the early stages. This obviously doesn't bode well because all we were doing was walking down a straight road. There is no active stabilization on this phone either, resulting in the stability being all over the place when there is a lot of movement. The iPhone still works better for us, no matter how much Samsung fans argue with us and tell us that our phone is faulty, so it is what it is, and we'll have to see which one wins in the next release. And it has started to rain again. I don't think Mother Nature likes me very much, but we are gonna finish this video no matter what because we are very determined. Close to the office, once again in front of the Gedächtniskirche. Very hard word for a Turkish guy to say because it's a hard German word. But anyway, enough of that. We're gonna be testing out the front cameras of these phones and also gonna take a video or two with the front cameras to see which one has the best performance. So, selfie time! Always been a fan of the S23 Ultra here, as their selfies are just really good. I especially enjoy the very accurate skin textures that almost perfectly replicate how skin looks in real life. The phone 2 actually has a decent front camera, but the iPhone is still giving us a higher performance in this one, as the top side of the photo in the middle is a bit hazy and the photo in general doesn't look as nice. Indoors though, good photo, really good actually, and is my favorite one. No idea how the performance changes so much, but it could be because of the lack of objects along with the absence of the sky compared to the first photo, making the job of the software much easier. In a dark room though, no luck from any of them. At least the iPhone is a bit brighter, but that's the only positive I can mention. As much as I do love the S23 Ultra's front camera, videos are still reliant on software when we're talking about small mobile phones with even smaller lenses and sensors. The iPhone is still unmatched here due to their video portraying the colors more accurately as well as having more, but not too much sharpness. This is something that I've also mentioned in previous comparisons, and my opinion still has not changed about the iPhone being the best phone when it comes to taking 4K videos. And that was the front camera video part. Now on to the audio part. We don't need a transition for this because I'm doing it live in front of you, featuring the iPhone 13 Pro. It is a little windy right now, but we're gonna see how much it affects the audio quality. And the one all of you are the most curious to hear about, I'm not sure about that, but I'm just taking a guess because it's the newest phone, the Nothing Phone 2. Carl Pei has had a lot of praise for this phone, but we're gonna find out just how good the mic quality is. Moving on to the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. We've had this comparison between the iPhone 14 Pro before, but now it's time to see how it holds up against the Nothing Phone 2. Apple's flagship has the clearest sound with lesser noise cancelling, while the Phone 2 has a lot of noise cancelling, which does dim the audio down a bit too much. The S23 Ultra was our phone of choice here, as it usually is, so we weren't super surprised. However, a big surprise in slow motion. For the first time since the high-class Sony Xperia phones, we have another device that can shoot in 4K 120 FPS, and I am amazed by this because I wasn't expecting this device to be the Nothing Phone 2. Really cool addition by the Nothing team, as the phone is also able to do 480 FPS and 1080p, while the Galaxy can shoot in 960 frames, taking the first place spot, as the Phone 2 slides into second place finish, overtaking the iPhone in terms of variety. As for macro, we do see somewhat of a decent performance from the newcomer, but it isn't enough to take out either of the elders. Distance is inconsistent as it changes from object to object, and the quality is also better on the two established brands. In conclusion, I am impressed with what Carl Pei and his team have done this time around. Since there is also a very good Snapdragon chip along with plenty of RAM in this phone, it's sure to be a popular one if the price goes down a little. Yeah, the only problem is the price, because I think that right now it's around the same price as a Google Pixel 7, and since the Pixel 8 is going to come out in a couple of months, and it's also most likely going to be around the same price, people are most likely going to go for that instead of the Phone 2, but we still have to see what happens. So, photos are tied between the iPhone and the Galaxy, with ultra-wide going to the Nothing Phone 2. Well done. Portrait was won by Samsung, videos as well, though remember, the iPhone takes the best and most consistent 4K videos. Zoom also went in the same direction, with stabilization going over to Apple. Front camera was a tie between the two big brands, as audio and slow motion was taken by the S23 Ultra, with macro being a tie. We hope you enjoyed our new style, and you should tell us in the comments if you did. Like and subscribe, and see you in the next video.